There is an unspoken beauty in softness and in being soft as a lady. Softness can be expressed in both ways, physical and non-physical. In this video, I'm going to give you 10 ways that are very practical and effective to become softer as a woman. Hello my dear viewers, welcome back to my channel, or welcome when you're new here. I'm sending a virtual hug to all my subscribers, and if you're not yet subscribed, I would highly appreciate and I recommend you to simply click the subscribe button. It's free, and also activate the bell so that our community grows and you won't miss any upcoming video. And now let's start with tip number 1, asking may I. So what is this? You might ask yourself, may I? So it's not specifically about this question. It is about being in situations in which you would usually do something that you want to do for yourself and don't ask other people, although this action might actually interfere with them. So what I am referring to is, for example, opening a window in a room where there are more people than you because you feel hot and you don't want some air. Or when you enter like a cafe or something like a co-working space or a public space and there is a free seat or a table, but someone is already sitting there, but there is the culture of just taking a free seat next to this person or at the same table. Ask, may I, before you do this thing. And I'm sure that many of you already do, but sometimes there are still situations in which we don't think about that. We don't consider other people. And we think, okay, I have the right to do that, or it's normal, or it's the culture. But when you introduce being more considerate and asking, may I, it will not only open the door to possibly nice communication or conversation because you already have like an opener, but it will also make you appear much more soft, considerate and feminine. This is very attractive and it is good for you. Number 2, being authentic and vulnerable. To be soft as a woman and to be vulnerable, which also means being soft, is of course challenging. And it requires courage to open up, but it is a very important trait and it makes you softer. So what I mean is expressing your emotions authentically, of course in the right situations, and be your authentic self in a graceful manner, of course. If you want to learn more about that, because this is like a whole topic, I already made a video about how to be authentic as a woman and how this makes you actually much more attractive. And I will link this video and also other relevant videos down below so that you can watch that afterwards. And we will continue with number 3, cooperativeness and flexibility. What do I mean by that? What I mean is trying to avoid rigidity when it's not really necessary. And it's about wanting specific things to be done your way or in a specific way that you think is the correct way. And I know that we are all guilty of that, or most of us. But when you try being more flexible and more tolerant and maybe more open to other ways, this will make you much softer and it will be much more relaxing for you. And I don't mean being too flexible and like crossing your boundaries or letting your boundaries be crossed. I mean with really unimportant small things in which we are sometimes just too rigid. Try to put yourself in the other person's perspective. There is a good metaphor for that, and it's bend before you break, or bend instead of breaking. And it is actually about that. You bend in order to avoid tension for yourself, tension in your body. And this tension will make you so hard that you will break. And we don't want you to break, of course. So try to be a little bit softer with things that really are not worth it. Number 4, don't overthink too much. Another point that I'm also guilty of, sometimes. But overthinking, unfortunately, makes you harder, because by overthinking, we as women are trying to protect ourselves. And of course, when we try to protect ourselves, when we don't feel safe, we become harder. So it's the opposite of softness. Many things that we are overthinking are also not really worth being overthought. So it is here important to reflect and to take a step back when you catch yourself overthinking and asking yourself, is this really a problem? An existential problem? Is this so important that it deserves my overthinking? Or maybe not. In most cases, it is not worth it. So simply be a bit more attentive and catch yourself before that happens. Evaluate if your thoughts are helpful or irrational. Number 5, address and release emotions. This one is very important. If you're already part of my community, subscribed and watched my videos, you will know that we as ladies are storing many emotions in our bodies. And I'm not only referring to tension that accumulates in your neck or in your back, this happens to everyone, but with us women, the tension and those negative emotions often accumulate in our hip area, which is not good because it makes us appear tense. Our walk becomes blocked and our hips are not swaying, and it's just not good for us. So we need to find a way to release those emotions to become softer. And you can only release those emotions, or the best way to release them is by an activity. So you have to either move, for example. I have a video on movements to release specific emotions in your hip area that will also be linked down below. Or by a creative activity, for example, such as painting, dancing, of course, that's a movement, but drawing, playing the piano, or doing something creative, because this often requires emotions and it distracts you from the negative things, and it also transforms emotions. Just, for example, distracting yourself by watching a movie is not necessarily transforming those emotions. It is more like a simple distraction. But what we want is transform. And transforming is mostly successful by an activity. So do that and you will become softer. Number 6, handle conflicts calmly unless you are in danger. In social conflicts, responding gracefully and with kindness will make you appear and be very soft, much more classy. Because a collected demeanor not only shows strength, but also class and elegance. And this is ultimately softness. Number 7, speak softly. So the voice, which is the only physical point here in my 10 tips or 10 ways on how to be softer, is a very important point though. It will make you appear and be perceived and feel much softer. You can say everything, even something criticizing. It should be, of course, constructive criticism in a soft tone. And then the person who would usually feel offended might not feel offended. Always avoid judgmental or attacking tone. I will link also a specific video with regard to how to have a softer voice down below in order to speak more softly. But in any case, also avoid raising your voice and stating commands very loudly, because this often comes across as very dominant and hard, and the opposite of soft. Number 8, asking for help and receiving. I know that oftentimes in our society, I don't know how it is in your country, I mean it also depends of course, but mostly people are not always offering their help by themselves. And we sometimes might feel shy or too bold to ask for help. But in order to be softer, to allow softness, you should ask for help if you need it, if it's necessary. This could be just situations such as you have problems with your suitcase in a plane and just ask someone for help. And most of the times people will gladly help you because People like to help actually, but just has become so out of style to be helpful to each other. Receiving is the essence of feminine energy, so it will also be very good for you, for your feminine energy and for your femininity, if this is something that you want to develop. Number 9, avoid judging others. Everything that is condescending, disrespectful, judgmental, and negative in your manners and in your communication will make you appear hard. And it is the opposite of compassion. So avoid being a negative gossip girl or judge everyone and everybody, and especially when you're in public or with more than one person. I mean, of course, we all enjoy gossiping a little from time to time with our best friend, for example, but don't let it become your habit, because this will make you appear unattractive and harder. Compassion and kindness is always soft. And this being harder and judgmental and like negative will also impact your face and your facial expression. So it is super important to avoid that in order to look softer also. And now we come to point number 10, which is the most important point. Cultivate a soft environment for yourself. In order to be soft, you need to feel safe. If you're in an environment where you are constantly in fight or flight mode, where you feel unloved, disrespected, unappreciated, or drained, it is impossible to be soft, no matter how hard you try. Therefore, it is important that you create the right environment for yourself by avoiding stressful situations, avoiding toxic people, and of course, learning to manage these situations if you cannot avoid them. So treat yourself with the same kindness and compassion with which you would treat a dear friend. And you can introduce some rituals to help you step back in stressful situations and remind yourself of staying soft and not becoming hard. And this could be a simple ritual such as taking a deep breath, or 3 breaths, even better. Or maybe some kind of object that reminds you, such as a specific piece of jewelry that you're always carrying, or a bracelet. So if you come into this situation, you just touch that. This is like a little ritual that can stop you from stressing yourself and hardening. So try that. Because softness and being a soft woman is not a sign of weakness. It is actually a big strength, as it shows our capacity for compassion and empathy. And it is truly appealing, not only to men but also to women. And wait, before you leave this video, I have an assignment for you, and don't worry, it is not difficult and only takes a few seconds, but it's important for you to take something useful from that video, because I don't know how it's with you, but if I watch videos like that or read books, the minute I finish it, I mostly forget about what I have learned. And in our today's digital world, we are constantly flooded with information. So pick one of the 10 ways that I have talked about here and write down in the comments which one you decide to implement in your life. And it's enough when you just write point number 2 or point number 3, but I promise you that this way you will plant a seed in your brain and you will very possibly remember this point, will be actually useful for you. So do that. Let me know down in the comments which one you are going to implement, and I'm very curious to read from you. And also, if you liked that video, give me a thumbs up. And I will see you in my next one. Bye bye!